Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to Wood by Wright 2. Today we are actually getting into the bed build, and this is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be going through the design. So in a moment I'm actually going to take you over to the SketchUp file and walk you through it and show you some of the joinery and things that are coming up. I will eventually have plans available for this. I don't have them yet. On the last one, the table, I tried to put them out early and that was just a debacle. So now I'm going to try and put them out at the last video. If you want to see that, it will be coming out here soon. So right now let's actually go into what all we did to make this work, and heads up, there will be some power tools in this step. So here is the bed, and I'm really liking how this came out. I did a mix of a bunch of different things I looked at, and several other things is kind of this what I've heard some people call early American kumiko, which I know that's going to make a lot of people really angry. But this backsplash is fairly simple. It's just a lot of mortises and tenons going up into the top, and then half lap in all of these joints, and then mortise and tenons into the bottom. It's all 3/4 inch thick, except for the center pieces are 1/2 inch. So those all have to get planed down to a slightly thinner amount, which I haven't done that yet. These are all still at 3/4, so they'll have to get a little bit thinner as they go. Then on the top here, I'm actually going to be using these top plates. I'm going to be doing them with a fairly gnarly wood, so there'll be a lot of knots and figure and shape in that, which will show off particularly here on the footboard top. All of these corbels are going to be dovetailed in with a sliding dovetail, and I like to leave this open sliding dovetail in the front. Personally, it's just something that I kind of enjoy. I did it on a few other things, and I like it on this. So then when I turn the top off, you can see that the corbels are also sliding dovetail connected into the legs. So this way they can go into that, and then you can put the top on, and that's how the top will be attached to the frame. The sliding dovetail will allow the expansion and contraction of the top, and everything should go fairly well together. The stretchers are all run through the legs, and so you have a through tenon that comes through here, and then I will be putting a pin through from this side, so you'll see a pin here holding all of these in place. There'll be drawboard in top and bottom. I haven't decided whether I want to do 2 on each one or just 1. If I do 2, the top one up here will be covered by the corbel, and the bottom one you'll see the pin coming through right below the corbel. Same thing on the top, so there'd be corbel and corbel. Now on the main stretchers running back and forth, normally this tenon would come out farther, and then you'd put in a wedge, but I didn't really want that because I didn't want something sticking out so much farther. The corbels are actually not sticking out that much farther, and then the top, when that goes on, isn't that much more. And we're going to have a hope chest that goes here in front of it, so I don't want these sticking out, pushing the hope chest out 3 or 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put steel pins through here, through the tenon, and into the other side. And rather than putting in steel pins that are hard to come out, they're going to be 2 pins, 1, 2, and then the outside here they're connected with a twisted wrought iron steel connection, so that when you pull that connection it pulls both the pins out. I'll be covering that later. Actually, there's another channel who's making those, and we'll be putting them on. For the bed support, there'll be another stretcher that goes back to front, and then these are just 1x3s in pine that will sit across and onto a 3/4 by 3/4 sill created on the inside of the bed, so that everything here can come apart into sticks, and then you have your headboard and your footboard that come separate. So other than that, the joinery is fairly straightforward on this, and we'll be doing a lot more of the walk around. And here you can see in the background I have all the pieces broken out so I can do dimensional images of all of it. Oh yeah, here is the frame that will be going through to hold the legs in place. So you can see the shape of it here. That way you can grab this handle and pull it out, and these 2 pins then come out of the tenon. So those will have this little wrought iron decoration sticking out the sides of the bed on all 4 corners. So there is our walk around of the bed, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into this. The next step will be putting the stretchers into the legs. So stretcher, 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 stretcher. And then after that, it's putting in the verticals that go between the stretchers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. After that, then we're going to be working on the panels, putting the grooves that go all the way around, grooves in the legs, grooves in the stretchers, grooves in the verticals, resawing the panels to fit in. And then after that, we're going to be doing this, the decorative stuff up here. Then after that, we're going to be putting in all of the corbels and the tops. And then we're going to be working on the connectors that go front to back. And once we have all those in place, then we'll do our glue ups and lock everything together. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Probably another 8 to 10 videos worth of work, and showing this whole thing step by step. It looks not complicated, but it's actually fairly straightforward. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, let's start this with my favorite wood, white oak. What else would I make out of? But I'm going to make it match the dresser that I built a couple of years ago, and that is white oak as well. So I got most of this from a local mill, sliced it all up, and had a little bit of fun with it. So I'm going to go through and sort it out and find out how many boards I actually need for this task, and make sure that I have what I need, and what is needed is then marked out and labeled. I find it very important to label everything at this point so that I know all the pieces have been checked off and I actually have enough lumber. I purchased far more than I need, and there's more that will go into the stack. So I purchased around 150 board feet. I really only need about 90. But that being said, some boards need to be bigger than others, so we actually had to go through and check them all out. In the end, I ended up labeling them on the edge because I was going to take them to a mill to be taken down to 3/4 inch. And also ripped to width. Much easier to do that. I did some of it here in the shop, and particularly with this larger stuff that's 8/4. 8/4, that's a lot bigger stuff. This will be what the legs are made out of. They'll be sandwiched together, so they'll end up, once it's all milled down, a little over 3 inches by a little over 4 inches. So I needed to cut these to length and then rip them down to the right thickness. And at this point, I was still planning on doing it all by hand, and I had calculated it all out for time-wise, but yeah, we decided to change that up. But I ended up actually cutting them all to the right length ahead of time. I cut everything about 3 or 4 inches longer than it needed to be, because I would rather have more on them and then cut them to the final length when they're all glued up. And then I need to go through and joint one edge on all of them, so I have something to reference off of. And I would be taking off the majority of the material in the middle of the board until the plane wasn't cutting, and that let me know there's a bit of a valley there, and I could then cut from end to end and get a nice clean flat reference. Using winding sticks lets me know if there is any twist in the edge, and I can make sure that the edge not only is flat end to end, but it is also twist free, so that I have a nice perfectly smooth surface all the way along. And this then can become my reference so that I can mark out. I marked out 4 1/8 inch away from the edge. I want to take these down to 4 inches in the end, but that 1/8 inch will give me a little bit of play when I can plane these down together, and there might be some twist from one board to the other before I glue them up, so I want to leave a little bit of leeway on there. And then the ripping stage. And after ripping a bunch of these down, I came to the conclusion that, yeah, this is a lot of work. And last time when I was working with the elm on the table, I pushed through it, and I have a hand tool channel, so I'm going to do it all by hand, and I got a little bit stubborn on it. But in this case, I decided, no, let's do a little bit of this and then take it all to the mill and have it all thicknessed and cut to the right width, just to save on time. Otherwise, I would have spent, my calculation was a little bit less than an entire week doing nothing but ripping and planing everything. So yes, let's take it to the mill. As I'm explaining here in the main video. Yes, I don't have any footage actually taking it to the mill, but I brought it all back and stacked it up and cut it all to length. So once it is all thicknessed and edged, so at least one edge is jointed. Most of them have been cut to width, but a lot of them have not. Now we can actually go through and pick out the pieces, which board will become what. And at this point, I'm going to actually go through and label them all. And I put a piece of blue tape on and then mark them out by, are they stretcher, are they top stretcher, bottom stretcher, and so on. Labeling them to match the cut list that I have. And yes, there will be a cut list in with the plans that has everything in there. I normally don't use a cut list. I normally just go to town off the top of my head. But if I have plans at hand, I'll use it. And here I'm going to be using my bow saw. This is actually a buck saw, usually used for cutting logs on a jack. But for rough cutting, when I really don't care about the tear out on the backside because all these ends will end up having a tenon put on them, it makes really fast work. And so I pull it out for a lot of my rough cutting work. In this case, I'm cutting everything to length, but I'm cutting it a little bit long. Most of them are 1 inch to 2 inches long. Some of the big pieces I might have like 3 inches long. That gives me a little leeway. And that way I can cut the tenons, and the important thing is the length from shoulder to shoulder, not from the end of tenon to end of tenon, because you can always trim the tenons to whatever they need to be. And I left these clips in here with the vibration just to drive some people absolutely crazy, because I like getting a lot of comments about how much the board is vibrating. Oh, you need to do something about that. No, the vibration's okay. Yeah, it takes a little bit of energy out, but yeah, it's fun. So we're getting close to the end here. I'm just wrapping up all the pieces, making sure that I have one of everything that I need, because at this point I don't want to be like, oh stink, I'm missing that board. So I label everything and check everything off on the cutoff list and work at it. The smaller pieces, it's actually just easier to use a carcass saw. Hey, I'm using a carcass saw on the carcass work. Kind of nice, but that's about it. Stack them all up, and there are our pieces ready to go on to the next step. This is going to be a lot of fun. So there you have it. It's starting to come together. We have all the pieces cut to length and size. I don't have the panels yet because those are going to be quarter sawn panels, and I'm actually going to resaw them. So I have book matched quarter sawn panels for each of the panels in the bed. And those I'm really looking forward to that, but I'm not going to touch those until later. So everything is ready to start doing joinery. Next time we get here, I'm going to be gluing up these legs, as I have a couple of them glued up already. The rest of them are finishing the glue up. We're going to then be planing these all to dimension, and yes, I will be doing that by hand. And then we're going to start in on the joinery, all of the mortise and tenon and the big mortises that have to go all the way through these things. It is going to be a very interesting step. So come along for the fun, and we will see you in the next time. So I hope you like this. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Also, if you have any thoughts or ideas or things that I missed, let me know down below. And until next time, have a wonderful day. I think it's finally time to put this topic to bed.